Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on where you are in the world. I always start all of my meetings at work like that, so I figured I might as well start this session off like that as well. Thank you for joining me. Another episode of ITN Live. We are rounding out season one, and I'm telling you, I'm definitely saving the winners for the end here. I've got a young man here who I've known for a good bit of time before I had all of this salt in my beard. Before he was a father, just a while ago, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. But sit back, you guys, enjoy this 30-45 minute session while I bring on Mr. Gregarious Narain. Sir, how are you?
Good, my friend. How are you?
Oh, I'm fantastic. You know, my wife had me doing a lot of honeydews today. We are doing some things in the yard, so it's now a pleasure to sit down with you and just have a conversation, and drink my cup of coffee. I'm an older gentleman, right? Like we were saying earlier. I'm over 50, so I still drink coffee after 6 o'clock in the evening.
Didn't you ever find it funny that like our parents and stuff would drink like caffeinated tea at night before they went to bed?
Look, I do that, right? I don't know. I think once I hit 50, it started affecting me. But
Yeah,
until then, I could drink coffee all day, all night, irregardless, and still, as soon as I hit the bed, I'd be down. But right now, I'm kind of in between, in the middle stages. So we'll see how it works. For these next few months. 2020 has
right.
been weird though, so who knows what's going to happen this whole 2020 thing. How are you, man? Tell the folks. I know who you are, but tell the people. Give us the elevator pitch, right? Tell everyone who Gregorius is.
Yeah, that's a good that's a good question. It's always hard to summarize yourself, I guess,
It's a
but
loaded question, I know.
it is. Look, there's probably a couple of vectors worth of ways to understand me, I guess. Some ways, look, I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I've been an entrepreneur for 25 years. And fundamentally, I picked up all the skills required to be a good entrepreneur over time because I didn't have any of that formal education, right? I started as a designer, worked most of my life as a developer, spent tons of time as a product manager, strategist, and then, at my last startup ended up sort of in solutions and sales even. So I've got so a well-rounded entrepreneur at this point. I've done a few venture-backed kind of businesses and lots of failed startups. But at the same time, I'm proudly and happily a father to a 5-year-old. Married to an amazing woman, Maria, and I'm happy to try to create the family life that I always hoped for or sort of saw idealized, and now I'm trying to create that for myself. And then the other part of me is much like you, I've become pretty invested, personally in sort of sharing my experience, my story, and my journey. And then that journey is expanded quite a bit to include more and more sort of fitness and health and ultimately longevity, I hope, in the process.
Right, right. You are. I'll say I'm from the country, right? You're a gumbo. You're a little bit of everything, brother.
Yeah.
I mean, you're only mid 40s, and again, you say you've been an entrepreneur for 20 some years. I can name off. Well, I know a handful that you've been a part of. I mean, shoot, we work, um, Techstars, Clout.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, now I'm flashing back. So here, check this out. And I pulled this off of the wall.
Oh,
Huh?
look at that.
This
Look at
this is my
that.
old school clout squad that
Yeah.
Megan and Joe had sent to me, and so that was back in what, 2008, 2009 time frame.
Yeah. That was more than, what is that, 12 years now? That seems like
Seems
forever.
like forever, right? Uh, right? You guys were onto something back then. Talk to me a little bit about, I guess, why you chose the route of going a serial entrepreneur versus going and working in a more traditional route, right? I mean, from a
Yeah.
business perspective, because you lived in San Francisco, so you had all of the the big Silicon Valley giants there. You could have gone and done a Facebook and a Google and all of those,
Yeah.
but you chose to go your own route.
Well, look, I'm born and raised in New York, and I'm the first generation son of two Guyanese immigrants that came here, and one of the things I'm proudest about like my culture and my family and where I grew up was the entrepreneurial spirit, and sort of the ambition that was like weaved into their DNA.
Right.
And my dad was in real estate. My mom did a little bit of real estate, but also ran like it still runs. She's still runs an ice cream shop in the Bronx every day.
I love it.
At 79 or 78 or 79 years old, and so to that end, like entrepreneurship has sort of been in the family, sort of from the beginning. I grew up around that. I saw that from the beginning. Every day of my life, basically. And honestly, I think I've been an entrepreneur since practically like the third grade. Like even in the third grade, when I was starting to design, like I did a little sign for my desk, like they had my name on it. And then people were asking me to like make them their signs. I started charging little third graders.
I'm out there doing a paper route and cutting people's grass. You're
Yeah.
coding at 3 years old, and okay.
Yeah. So I was selling like, desk art, back in desktop art in third grade.
I love it.
I went on to selling candy and gum like in junior high, and then school supplies in college, and computers at the end of high school, building and selling computers. I've always been an entrepreneur, but honestly, I got into med school. My parents like had beaten into me like, physically, you're going to be a doctor. You can't.
I know some of that. Okay, I know a little bit. Yeah. Again, I'm from the country.
Yeah. And literally and figuratively, right? Like, and I studied, I trained, I did. I have a degree in sociology actually from NYU, but pre-med as well at the same time. Got into med schools, and then decided that this was a horrible idea, and I don't want to do that. So. I ended up moving to into technology more full-heartedly, and that was how I became a tech entrepreneur. And since then, it's just been one long thread that I kept pulling. When we started our first company, it was a web design company. I was in art. I did a lot of art back then. I was a designer, and so I was the design part of a web design company that I started with my best friend and another friend from high school. And then little by little, I became the developer. And then ultimately, I became like a product entrepreneur, software product entrepreneur, probably 23 years ago out of that 25 working.
Gotcha. I mean, I rattled off a handful of them that I can think of just off the top of my head. And I think today you're more focused on your founder craft. Right? I mean, is that would I be right if I call that an incubator, or what would be the best definition of what founder craft is?
I'm launching a new startup. I haven't ever talked about it.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got some groundbreaking news here on ITN. Gregarious Narain.
But yes, I am launching a new startup actually later this month or early, like just after 4th of July. We're close. I was actually working on the website all day. Okay. But it's a new company called Fanbase, and it's like the third part of the trilogy. So Clout was sort of influencers, like scoring influencers, and then Shoot was fans to brands, and now I'm building Fanbase, which is a CRM for your followers. So we're trying to implement a proper marketing funnel for social marketers.
Interesting. Okay. So you're taking almost the best of those two worlds.
Yeah.
And is so the focus is on the brand as opposed to the influencer?
It's so technically now it's broadly on the account owner. So anyone who's got a following, an audience that they've built. But as we've all got an audience out there, but we don't necessarily know everyone in the audience. And so we built a tool to put them into a funnel and ultimately help you convert and close them.
Got you.
Yeah. So brands can do it, but influencers can also do it just to learn how to make better content or learn how to sell more product or learn how to create better ideas, whatever it may be. There's a ton of use cases, but So that's actually my new company, which I haven't updated the world to yet, which is called Fanbase, fanbasehq.com.
Yes,
But
I've got my early access
yes,
request in. I tried to talk to someone who's at the company. I haven't heard much back. You know anybody there? Maybe
there's a long queue of people waiting to get in.
you got a guy? Awesome,
But
man.
Foundercraft, more importantly to your first question, or the real question, for the last 2 years in between sort of Shoot getting acquired and moving to Denver and figuring out what I want to do next, I really embraced the idea of really giving back to the other entrepreneurs, because a part of me wasn't sure like if I had another startup in me, and like if I wanted to dive right back in. And so I took some time, and what I really found that I really do enjoy is like sort of mentoring and helping other entrepreneurs. Fundamentally, one part of my philosophy is that if you don't teach things teach things that you've learned, you actually don't learn anything at all, right? And so I really dived into mentorship and other forms of sort of advisory work and helping. And so I don't take equity, generally speaking, in the companies with Foundercraft. We assign a value and we do work with them, but like my goal is to sort of be a virtual co-founder to other founders who maybe don't have as much experience, help them see around some corners, help them solve whatever problem it is that they think they can't handle, which they usually can. They just, are overwhelmed by,
Right.
sort of the breadth of all the things. And so that's what I've been doing for the last couple of years at Foundercraft, is like an advisory company. And then Fanbase is about to become my primary day-to-day stuff.
So there's 24 hours
Yeah.
in a single day, right? We sleep maybe 2 of them. You're still going to stay at the helm of Foundercraft. I mean, because what you do there, I mean, I log in and watch some of your episodes and your
Yeah.
shows and the things that you say on a regular basis. Incredibly insightful, right? You've got a list team around you and with you that are helping guide and direct entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, whatever the case may be. So, I mean, that work can't stop, right?
That won't.
And I think again, you're a critical piece of that because you bring in those
Yeah.
20 plus years of experience, pitfalls, successes, and whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So when you click publish on Fanbase HQ, how are you going to talk to us about how you're going to mentally adjust some of that time, right? Again, how are
Yeah.
you going to be able to?
So I think where one, I do it because for me, that's my brain candy, right? And
Yeah.
so I don't, that's like my release, that's my escape. It's a way to like think about new ways to solve my own problems. It's about seeing what else is out in the world. It's also like for my own mental health to be able to do that as well. And so to me, like the live content I produce, and by the way, I'm building tools for content creators. And so it's always like an ongoing part of the research of my customer anyway, right? Like, so
Gotcha.
staying a creator keeps me connected to like the struggles and the challenges that actual creators are seeing. Building an audience and having to maintain and grow an audience actually still keeps me connected to the challenges that I'm trying to solve for. So there's a nice overlap in that regard to the content side. I think the part that goes down is the advisory work, right? So,
Okay.
I won't be like taking on new clients, past like a certain point. And I'll probably be reducing time with any clients I have or tapering down engagements that exist. But my team is still there, and then my co-founders are still there. So I still have Punkage and Marcella and Ruth and all my other folks I've been collaborating with and working with. And I'm one part of that equation, right? On the shows, I like to be the glue, right? Like whenever I can be to all my great friends that are out there. But, much like we can do now, those shows, sorry, they don't actually take any prep. Like it's part of what I love about live. Like the good thing about being around for a long time and knowing a lot of people is you have great connections, friends, resources to bring in and have a conversation with, right? And the even better part about being sort of a product person or a pattern matcher, right, like me, is I can have a conversation on anything, right? And so we're always having topics that we kind of already know about in one little bit or another way. And so sometimes I want to learn about a topic, so I bring somebody in and we're just interviewing them live. but it doesn't take a tremendous amount of time. It's really just a coordination, kind of like what we had to do, like send an email, follow
Right.
up, and that's it. So that part's pretty small in the broad scope of things.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that's the part that probably goes down. I'll probably be less accessible for like office hours and things like that, going forward on the Foundercraft side. But I will still be, and look, we're bootstrapping. So like to some degree, like the other part keeps the other one feeds the other.
Right.
Right.
I love that. I love that. And I mean, again, I guess I'll circle back as well. When you know your content, or when you know what you're going to talk about or your business, it's not tough. I mean,
Yeah.
irregardless of what it is that you're doing from a day to day perspective, if you're passionate about what you're doing, if you know what you're talking about, and if you're
Yeah.
vested in it yourself, look, yeah, we didn't do a whole lot of prep because we already go back and we know that we were just going to sit here and have some laughs, tell some jokes. I may actually, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and take this time and embarrass you slightly because, like, so we met at the couple of times that I actually came to the cloud office, but
Yeah.
every time that I came there, I'd go over to the cafeteria, grab a beer. You were in a meeting. I don't know, you guys were planning something, doing real work. Um, and then the next time that we really interacted, I don't know if you remember. Tell me if you remember.
I think we had a party, right? Or it was one of our events
There's
that
always a
you'd come
party,
to.
but there's always a party.
Yeah,
Look, we
but it was
we
like one of the. I think we'd done like an event for. I forgot which brand it was. I think what we did pulled a brand event for Cloud. It was one of our earlier
Well,
campaigns.
I think you came. Well, I know Megan was at the one for the Sacramento Kings, and I was there for that.
Yeah, I
And
wasn't that
And
one.
Joe came out, but it was actually Pressnomics.
Oh yeah, okay. Wait. Oh, that's funny. Like that's not the one I was remembering. I was thinking it was like TNT for some reason.
So I found, because Josh had me actually, I had just kind of started, really blogging, and shouts out to Pagely because Infotainment News is
Yeah.
hosted on Pagely. But I was looking back and I found this right here. This is Gregarious talking the business of visual media back in, I think, 2012 at Pressnomics in, was it Scottsdale, Arizona?
Yeah, that was a
Look at
trip. I don't have to say
that.
quite the same anymore.
You probably don't even, you don't have that photo anymore either. Do you?
I
I'm
don't
not
think
the
I have
only
that
one that
photo
has that.
anymore. I do remember that talk though, because one of the funnier parts about that talk was that I proved that you can use visual media to tell a story because I randomly chose all the photos for the slide. Like it had no
Yep.
relation to the content.
Yep, yep, and I'm in the back with my old Sony camera, when the original mirrorless Sonys. It got
Yeah.
overheated because I was taking video, well, now I
Yeah.
can get off that tangent. But so
Yeah.
so that's how far we go back.
Yeah.
And let me circle back. I had to throw that in because if I didn't, I'd be upset at myself. But I guess back to your utilization of time. So Fanbase HQ is coming out, Foundercraft, all the other activities that you're doing. You got a little, was it 5, 6 year old now? You got
Yeah.
Solomon
5 years.
out,
Just turned
running
5.
around the house too, right? So
Yeah.
I'm quite sure that I know that guy is just what's bringing that smile on your face right now, right? Because
I can hear his
I've
little feet running around upstairs already.
but that's what it's all about, right? That's
Yeah.
that's what it's all about. Talk to us about being a father to young boy, 5, 6 years old now. Talk to us about that
Yeah.
whole experience.
It is. I will say like there's a lot, this day and age, a lot of people feel like they don't need a child anymore, right? Or it's there's a lot of people waiting longer and longer to have a kid,
Mhm.
um, and I think they're missing out. Um, I just feel like there's like a whole journey of life, and I get it. It's a full on delta, 180-degree probably from everything you could have imagined. Or it's some kind of wormhole thing where you show up in the life you thought you were going to have maybe 18 years later, but but there is not. I can't really say like there's anything more fulfilling in my life than having my son. You know, I I think it's people think the thing it's a selfish pursuit. It's like mentorship, but like it's almost like how I explain mentorship. It's like you have as much to gain out of it as the little person that you're sort of or individual you're imparting whatever advice, knowledge, experience to,
Yeah.
right? And you don't get you never have a mirror on yourself truly until you have a child, because the second you have that child, it becomes this mirror, and you're like, are these the things I want to pass down, right? And because suddenly it echoes back to you, right? It's that mirror that talks back to you. And you know, seeing a whole human being evolve and sort of become their own person, but like also be a part of you and be a part of like your partner, it's really an amazing thing. And for me, it's been a tremendous opportunity for reflection. It's been an attempt, as I said, I think I said in the beginning, really to I think try to create the idealized childhood that I had hoped for, right? Like
Okay.
as much as I can, right? Like,
Yes.
my parents were workaholic entrepreneurs, right? Like, and going into the beginning of my son's life, I was a workaholic entrepreneur as well, right? Like, and honestly, my wife was really pissed about that, right? And um, and now, like, as things evolved, I started to see like that's not how I want to be, right? I don't want to be like raised by I don't want him raised by his grandparents like I was. I want to be raised by his parents, right? And I want to
Yeah.
know what he likes, and I want to know what he cares about, and I want to help him learn new things, and I want to learn new things because he's learning new things. Um, and so, and I'm not resentful of my parents. It's just that because I have a mirror, or because even back then, when you're growing up, you got friends, like, or you got like you got neighbors, you see differences, right? And sort of you develop a plot line in your head about like what family is and what you'd like it to be like, right? And having a child, having a family, forget the child even, it's still like a chance for you to create the the future and the timeline that you think you'd like,
Yes.
right? Like,
Yes.
and so I think, like, I got that by having my wife, right? Like, first, like, where you get to model and build a relationship and a life together with someone like that you can share it with, and then you have that with your son, and it gives every day a bit of purpose, right? And it makes every day a little bit a new kind of adventure. And I don't know if you're like me and you're a hypochondriac. It's like every day is a day for crapping your pants a little bit more. Like, like of what's the next thing that's going to go right or wrong, right? Like, so.
Look, let me tell you something. I'm couple of years ahead of you
Yeah.
because I've got two. Our daughter is 18. Our son is 15 and a half. Our daughter just graduated high school in the midst of 2020 and
Yeah.
going through all of what she went to or what she didn't go through. So that's one thing. Uh, she applied to college. Every college she got applied to said yes. We told her to spin the globe, go wherever you want to go, regardless of what we say, your
Yeah.
friends say, your grandparents, whatever the case, right? So she's going to UCLA. That's tough, right? That it's phenomenal, right? We're incredibly proud of her. I mean,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous how proud of her. But I mean, just that whole dynamic of going from birth to elementary to high school to now going to where she's getting ready to branch off and hopefully take some of the lessons that me and my wife have taught her, right? To stay on as much of that narrow path as possible. But now she's going to go off and do her own thing. So that you have that to look forward to, my friend.
Yeah.
And then the son is the same but different. I mean, that's your guy,
Yeah.
right? I mean that's the guy. I can rough and tumble a little bit with my daughter too, and she can knock me down. I mean, she's kind of beat me up a few times, but me and my son, we rough and tumble, and that's there's something very special about having both children. But
Yeah.
you've got your son, and I know you have your site, Letters to Solomon,
Yep.
right? That you write, and I think you've written that ever since he was born.
Yeah. You started just before, actually. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, and imparting your your thoughts of what it is to be a man, what it is to be a father. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but talk to us a little bit about why you started that site and what it's meant for you, your wife, and what eventually your son will see.
Yeah. So for context, we have this site called Letters to Solomon, and it's sort of like open letters that we publish, which are written to our boy. Now, there's a couple of the reasons that we do this, or at least the reasons that I started it. Maria contributes to it as well, and honestly, I think her letters are better than the ones I write. But I think on one of the things, my dad passed like 20 years ago, right when I was like 25, and it was sudden. And I felt like at that point I was like barely just getting to know my dad. I think like he didn't like appreciate me as a man until like I got to be an adult, right? And so like I barely got to know my dad because like the window where he saw me, and then he was pissed at me because I didn't go to med school for a few years in there.
Yeah.
And so I just feel like I never got to really know my dad, right? And one of the things that sucked about that is that I remember that like people always wait until they know someone's dying to try and collect these like memoirs and these memories and record all this video and all this stuff. And I'm like, look, half the time every day I feel like I forget something else already. And I'm like, I don't think my memory is going to be there later anyway. Like I'm just not forgetful. I'm a pattern. I guess I'm a pattern guy. I remember the patterns. I don't remember generic like specifics all that well, right? But what I wanted was to make sure I contemporaneously sort of captured how I felt about things, right? And I didn't want just a highlight reel. I didn't just want like this bragging reel about all the great things I did or accomplishments or fun things like that. I wanted it to be like my point of view on the world as the world was happening to me. And then that might change, right? So like revisit the same topic, 4, 5, 10 times over the course of your life, right? So I wanted that. I wanted that, not because like I think I'm going to die tomorrow, but because just in case you never know, right?
Right.
And I wanted to make sure I had minimally spent some time reflecting and talking to my son, right? That other part of me that I mentioned about like even FounderCraft's existence and sort of this mode of switching to like mentorship and being a teacher, becoming a dad, I think sort of enabled that mode more than anything else in me, right?
Okay.
And I wanted more practice helping others. So helping more. I would always help with entrepreneurs as best I could be, but I really dove into it. It was like the only thing I did, for the last couple of years. And so I think, like I said, the first post I wrote, the first letter I wrote was, the 30 things I learned on the way to becoming 40. And I
Yeah.
found out we had Salmon when I was 40. I was 39 at the time. I started writing it, and I just rushed to finish it before my birthday. But I got like these first, 30 items down. Ultimately, I always tell people the first and the last are kind of the only two that really matter if you really needed the TLDR, right? But the idea is that by compacting my knowledge, by trying to force myself to think about things and think about what I learned, I'm learning myself, but at the same time, I'm making sure he is at least aware of the mistakes that I made, right? Or the things that I learned. And it's not that I expect him not to make the same mistakes or not to make mistakes. That's part of the process, right? But if he ever needed advice or guidance, maybe hopefully there's a letter to go to about it or somewhere to help him, like at some point later in time, right? It's also just been a great exercise in mindfulness. So I only have a few letters now that I have a few kinds of letters that I like to write. I write, like, for example, every year on my birthday now, instead of like doing rapid lessons, I try to take away one life lesson from the year that passed, right? So I try to really reflect back on the year and I say, what was the most important thing that, I learned from last year, as opposed to trying to come up with a bunch of them or whatever it may be.
Right.
On his birthday, I also write a letter to summarize his last year of his life from my point of view, just so that he's got like a little bit of a sense of who he was from my eyes, at that point. And then on key birthdays or key events, I'll also write. Sometimes like, look, we're getting older. I have cousins and family that pass. I write about them. I commemorate them. So he understands the people who are important in my life as well.
Dude, that's phenomenal. And not only do you write incredibly well and very poignant, very heartfelt and touching stories. The photos that you post, look, the last one where you, I don't know who took the picture, but you and your boy, I think it was it on a railroad track or something. It was a few weeks
On the
ago.
sidewalk.
Yeah, look, your Instagram is way beyond my anything that I can do because you got the lighting right. You even told me about a little stand, so you got a stand to take your photos at the up angle. I bought that literally the next day that you
That's
told
so
me
good.
about it. We're listening. Yeah, I mean, so let me put it that way. I mean, I think what you're doing just from that letters to Solomon, and you saw I posted that link there just for others who can really get some value from that. That's an incredibly important thing to do, and I applaud you for that, brother.
Appreciate it.
Your kids, and you know this, right? They absorb everything,
Yeah.
everything. I mean, you always hear it from the old timers, right? They'll time slips by. Do it now before it's too late. Give me my flowers before I'm gone. You hear all
Yeah.
these colloquial, all these sayings, but what you're doing is real time and it matters, right? Because you and your wife are contributing to it, and it's better than a time capsule. It's better than putting it in a shoebox because it's real time and it's living. So keep doing it because I'm reading it, um, and it's some really good stuff. It's some
Well,
really
and
good stuff.
the other thing to it, James, is that I hope it inspires people to try and do something similar.
Yes, yes,
Ultimately,
yeah,
because too often what I hear is, "Oh, I wish I could do this." I'm like, "You can do this.
yeah,
You don't even have to write. If you just want to say it, get a video. Get your phone out and record a video.
yeah.
If you need someone else to ask you, just let someone prompt a question to you and say it. But whatever it is, I think is just super valuable. And I've had dads write me, many dads. I've been on a bunch of dad podcasts and parenting podcasts as well. And they're always like, "Oh yeah, and I'm like, I'm not doing something special per se. I'm doing something that all of us have the potential to do, but we don't necessarily make the time to do."
Well, I'm gonna correct you because what you're doing is special, and it's not the norm, right? And
It's definitely not the norm.
I wish it was the norm.
Yeah.
So continue to do what you do because yes, you are inspiring us, everyone. I think in terms of what you're doing, and kind of like I said earlier, the world needs a hug right now,
Yeah.
and those types of bits of feedback, those types of contributions are really helping, especially to our youth, especially when it's the little guy that's running around in your house right now. Just wait till he starts eating all the food.
I will be
Wait till he's a
happy for it.
teenager.
I'm trying to get him to eat more, man.
I come downstairs and my guy is in the pantry with the door closed with his earphones on and he's just eating everything that's in there. I'm like, dude, are you kidding me? But I love it. I love it, man. So I mean, those are the things that we soak up. Um, we've talked about your business life. We talked about your family life.
Yep.
I really want to talk about kind of some personal things that make up you on a day to day basis because we have a very similar routine, I think, right? In terms
Yeah.
of how our days start. So that picture that I posted, yeah, you don't look like that anymore. I mean, you got a little upper chest action going. Talk to the folks
You make your
about
chest look bigger, by removing the belly.
no, I should have cropped it just a little bit more. Okay, that's what hold on. Let's crop just a little bit more. But on a real, talk to us about what you're doing to take care of yourself. Because again, I'll call it a transformation, right? I mean, again,
Yeah.
not that you were in anything bad back then, but dude, you look like you've definitely turned the clock back. Talk to us about what you're doing.
You know, so I guess these things are all tied together, right? Like, you remember I mentioned my dad died early when he was, or when he was like 55 or six, right? I was 25. We have like a great history of heart disease and diabetes and high cholesterol in the family. We're West Indian. My entire dad's generation, they all died, right? Like by 60, 65, right?
Okay.
One of my lessons to Solomon is like bellies are bad, right? So like my dad had that one of those big bellies that was like hardened and it was always there, and I've always tried to stay in shape. Like, the gym was always like part of my routine. I graduated college like 125 pounds. I was a super skinny kid growing up, super light. Wow. And then one summer gained 20 pounds of muscle after college, right? And I've always stayed a bit in shape, but it was never, I went through fits and spurts of like caring and then not caring, being really focused, then letting go. And then when I moved to Denver, I actually just decided, I was like, well, now I'm here. I don't have to be the San Francisco Greg anymore. Like, who do I want to be now? Right. Like, it's a chance to, I wouldn't say reinvent, but it's to re-baseline who I am. Right. In San Francisco, me is like maybe like a pure startup technology person. I didn't necessarily want that to be the only way that people might think of me. And because it's not the only way I think of myself. Right. And so I have a couple other passions, like fashion is one of them. That's
true.
Right. Also not depicted particularly well in the former picture. I'm
not even, I didn't even bring that up as a topic because I remember you had a Google share of, it was suit of the week or suit of the, maybe it was even suit of the day.
Yeah, suit of the day for 20 days, a month straight.
Come on, man. I can't keep up with you. I got some decent in the closet, but every single day they come out with, oh my God.
So, so there's that. There's fashion, but then fitness was another thing. And when we got here, I don't know, something clicked to me and I just said like, well, it's interesting how all these things go together, like I was saying. So obviously my family's health history sort of was like one reason that fitness was always on my mind. When Solomon was born, I'd never watched YouTube at all, like ever. Right. And then suddenly I'm up all night and I'm like, all right, well, I don't know what else to watch. And I just started watching YouTube, and YouTube just turned out to be this great place because I could find anything that I was interested in. And I was like interested in fitness was one of the things. So I started watching workout routines and other things like that. And I would always go. I've gone to the gym at like 5 a.m, probably since I've been like 23, 24. Right. Yeah. If I go to the gym, it's always like early in the morning, but I didn't always go to the gym. Like I had months where I hurt myself or, et cetera, like that. Right. But the longest I think I ever went without working out was maybe a year. Right. But that was sort of always like there. But what really got to me is I was watching this one kid and he did this contest every year called Summer Shredding. Right. This guy, Christian Guzman, he's got a YouTube channel. And I'm like, I watched him for 3 years and I'm like, why am I watching somebody lose weight? Right? Like, why don't I just do this? Right? Like, and this was like in March-ish. I just come back from South by. I was probably the heaviest I'd been in the year. It was like 148 pounds, 149 pounds. I'd just been drinking, eating crappy for like the whole part of a while. We moved, we drove out.
I know South by, yes.
Post-holiday weight. I didn't feel good at all, right? And I was like, all right, I need to stop drinking. So I was like, forget it. I'm going to enter this contest, right? So you pay like $20 and it's an online contest. So you just take pictures. And I'd never, ever done this before, right? I'd never shared a picture of myself like without a shirt on before either, right? And so I just when I started doing what I had been learning passively, but never for practice, right? And so I started dieting. I started working out more intently, started tracking all my workouts. And I've done this many, many times in the past. I've usually been the one rallying people to get back into shape or try to work out, do 1,000 push-ups, whatever things we're going to do here and there. But I got into it. And I went from 147 or 8 pounds, right after South by early March to 126 pounds in June. And I didn't know it at the time, but I probably was around like 6% body fat, like when I did that cut. And
You're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me. Well, so first of all, before you go on, so
yeah,
120 some pounds. Your height though. Tell everyone your height.
so I'm like about 5'5.5".
Yes.
So
Okay. See,
I'm
I'm
small,
I'm
small.
6 foot.
Yeah,
I'm 6 foot, and I weighed in this morning at 185. I
which is still lean. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm not at 6%.
Yeah.
We can talk about that later too, but keep going.
Yeah. But I don't know. I just got committed to it, and it, it's it's just something I enjoy because it pays all these dividends, right? Like
Yeah.
it keeps my mind energized. It helps me. I love learning how to program my body like that. There's just this
Yeah.
other whole sort of domain of things that it's really interesting and powerful to be able to do something that this is one thing I know other people can't do, right? Like
Yes.
like understanding the science of your body, being able to program it, having the will and the determination. Like I love that kind of mental challenge for myself is really powerful. The health benefit, the longevity, it feels like an investment in being here for my son in the long term. Look, at end of the day, last year I did enter. I did my first bodybuilding show, and
Oh, what's he got? You got medals there? Look at this. He's
yeah,
got some hardware to show.
I got some medals to show for it too. So,
Oh man.
So yeah,
So that was your first show.
that was my first show. It was December 1st. I competed at I think it was 133 for that show. So here's the journey. After I got down to 126, I was like, here's the interesting story of how everything I do overlaps with something else, right?
Okay.
So Foundercraft, my real goal, I've been working on this book actually called Minimum Viable Person. And the idea is like a product manager's guide to life, right? And the whole idea of the MVP is of the minimum viable person is that you actually have all these commitments out in the world. And I'm trying to get founders to actually balance their life to not be all work, but to actually invest in their health, invest in their relationships, invest in all these other parts of their life. And so I got to thinking, I'm like, well, what would be the thing I could do? Like, I don't want to become a nutritionist and I don't want to be a trainer, but I need something to make sure that every founder is going to be like, okay, I'm going to listen to this guy. And I said, you know what? A picture of me on stage as a bodybuilder would be the undeniable proof to STFU, right? And I'd be like, okay, this guy can run a startup and can do that. Like, oh, and he's a dad. And
in his spare time.
Like, okay. Right. And I was just like, I needed like a credential of some kind on this other part of my life or my experience to help them. Right. Like to help validate myself in making this case. And so it overlapped with this other dream, like this other idea that I was working on. And so I was like, great, I'll do the show. And so I walked December 1st and, I was in the masters category as well. It was 44. I got first place in my category because there was no one else in it.
Yes. No, I'm still clapping. You showed up because you were there. You won. That's it, right? You put in the work.
I showed up. You can win sometimes for showing up. I'm proud of the other ones though. I got like third place. I don't remember how many. I got 4. I don't remember how many medals.
There's a lot of medals over there. So
but I beat one guy, and that's the one I'm actually proud of. Like I beat another guy who really was competing. Right. The third place actually means a lot more to me than the first place. And I have a couple of those. But the interesting thing, James, is I was the shortest guy by like several inches. I was the oldest guy by like probably a decade. And I was the lightest guy by 35 pounds. So the guy that I beat for third place was competing at 170 and I was like 135. Right. Wow. So after that, I committed after the show. I basically committed that I want to do one more show a year for the next 5 years because I want to win at 50, which would put me in the next category for masters.
So are you trying for your pro card?
Oh, I don't want to get a pro card. I'm not
Okay.
interested in that at all.
Okay.
I like it because it forces me to stay very much in control and on top of my diet and my mental game throughout the year. And just like the cherry on top is just the competition. I will never compete to win per se. Like I don't think I have the genetics actually to win, right? But I like that's just a reward for doing the work, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
Okay. You know what? Maybe I should. I'm not. I don't want to compete against you because you'll win. And look, yeah. Before you didn't take a lot of pictures with your shirt off, but now every other picture on Instagram.
I
You
got
got
one
your
whole Instagram account for that if you want to see it. So,
bruh. Oh, I see him. Let me tell you something. I see him. You're flexing every day, and I'm looking at him like, oh my god, I need to do some more sit-ups every day
I don't do
to
any
get fit.
sit-ups, by the
My,
way.
my six pack is down to a 2.5 pack
Yeah.
after lockdown. So, are you back in the gym? Because I was just able to. Our gym just opened 2 days ago, and I've been
Did
back
you
the
go?
last 2 days. I've been back last 2 days religiously, early a.m. with my
So I will
mask
tell
and
you,
gloves on.
I went. I went the first day they opened. Ours opened last week or this week actually, and I went Monday, and it was more full than ever.
Yeah,
And I went at the 6 a.m. slot, and I was just like, Jesus, this is way worse than normal, right? Like, so I signed up. I have two gyms. The one that I went to is the larger gym, and it's a 24-hour gym, which is why I
okay,
went.
yeah,
I used to go at 3 in the morning because I wake up like 3 in the morning, 3:30 in the morning usually, like organically, and I don't like to waste time. So once I wake up, I'm like, well, I may as well go do my workout. And like if you're doing cardio and whatnot, sometimes it's an hour and a half of working out, right? Because you got like 45 minutes of your workout, then you got like 45 minutes of cardio. That's like a lot of time early in the morning. And now they don't open till 6. And so all the other people who would show up at 5 and at 6 are also there.
yep,
And
yep.
I honestly, I just didn't feel very good about it. I live with my in-laws. I got two elderly people in the house. I got my son. I went the first day. You're not required to wear a mask while you're working out. And I just didn't feel very good about it. And so I was like, forget it. I'm not going back to that one. I've been cycling. I started cycling last week actually for like first time ever really. And, I haven't had a bike since I was 18. And I did 75 miles last week. I did about 40 miles this week and then I crashed on Friday and now my leg hurts. So, largely because I started cutting for real for the show. That's not funny, Eric.
So before you go, let me give you some context. Yesterday, me and Eric actually did a segment on ITN Live about the gyms that are just opening. Because
Yeah.
so he's a 24-hour fitness person. He went
Yeah.
there as well. And you said the 6 o'clock schedule or segment. So
Yeah.
apparently they're tracking when you can only go in at as particular
It's
blocks
open
throughout
to
the day.
6 now. So you get all the boring
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, so I mean that's literally what he was saying too, right? I go in, I didn't feel the exact same, something's wrong, so they went to another gym because they had the exact same
Yeah.
ill experience.
So I have two gyms, and the other one, which is closer to me, which I can bike to, opens Tuesday. And I know even on normal days, there's only like 6 people there. I know all the people. So even if there was fewer, I'll feel better being there at 6 than at the big one, right?
Okay.
So if not, I'm going to join Anytime Fitness, which is right near my house. It's 20. You have a fob, and then I can go in by myself. But I haven't trained at all. But I'll be happy to say this: I got in. I still benched 195, like for rep, like for
No,
6.
there you go. Show you know what? Stop showing off.
First time back. I got 2 pairs of dumbbells home. That's all I had. Pair of 45, pair of 25s.
Well, so I don't know. You can barely see it on the screen, but my 11:30 at night COVID lockdown purchase, impulse
Peloton?
purchase was a Peloton.
Oh, we got an
Um,
Echelon too. I've never ridden it.
Thank you for keeping the economy going, brother. But
Yeah.
this thing right here, believe the hype. I bought it. I'm on it. I'm gonna get on it in about another hour. This is what kept me going for the last couple of weeks before my gym's open. I've gone in kind of been very timid, to be honest with you. Just wanting to make sure I had the mechanics back. Right,
Yeah.
haven't tried to go back to my same level. I've kind of been
What's the
working
scene
my
been
way.
though? Was it crowded or
Yesterday was not. I don't think everyone really paid attention to the CalFit website and said, "Hey, we're back open, so come in." Those
right?
kinds of things, and the hours are different. Today was a little more crowded. Folks, I'm the only one, and the workers that are wearing masks. Um, I don't like that, but and every other piece of cardio is open, right? So they've got
Okay.
one in between, so you
Yeah.
have some bit of social distance. But you figure all the Nautilus equipment, all of those things are already 6 feet apart, so they
Right.
didn't have to move a lot of that equipment. But
Yeah.
I'm starting to feel it. You know, I got my glutamine in me right now because I was pretty sore
Yeah.
yesterday, so I had to do some recovery on that. I got my foam roller that I'll hit too, but
Yeah.
I I agree with you 100%, man. It's the mental thing, it's a spiritual thing, and it really does encompass every other thing that we do, right? I mean, if you go in and put your whole heart and your whole effort into taking care of your mind, your body, and your spirit, you're going to be better for yourself, you're going to be better for your family, and you're going to be better for the sphere of influence that you have. So your work life and everything else around that.
Yeah.
It's critical to do those things. So next show is when?
So if I do it, it will be August
Oh,
22nd.
you'll do it. Oh, you'll do it.
I
You'll do it.
so here's the thing. My goal was to be 5 pounds heavier every year that I compete. Right. So I was 133 when I cut down for last year. My goal is to be at 138 this year. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at how I look when I'm at 138 and see if I feel like it's like I don't want to win, but I don't want to be last. Right. So um,
That right there, put that on a t-shirt.
yeah,
Put that
and and so here's the thing. I was bulking. I went up. I was up from from 133 in December. I would when I started cutting, I was at 158, right? Like or when quarantine
Okay.
started, I was at 158, right? And my target weight was 170 for the end of May, and then I would have started cutting down to get to hopefully 130, like 140,
Right,
like lose 30, 20, 30 pounds, pick up a lot of fat in the process, right? Um, and so I don't know. I'm better. I'm up right now. I can tell I'm up without having the gym, right? Like my body fat's probably like 10.5 today, right?
you're
At like
killing me. You're
140,
killing
one
me,
and a half.
dude. I'm at
Yeah.
okay. I don't even. You're killing me.
It's a thing. But here's the thing, like the stupid shit, annoying stuff is this, right? Like anyone else at my body fat would look totally ripped, and I'm like still a West Indian dude, so I basically look like skinny,
Hold
but not
on.
like ripped, right? Like,
Hold on. I'll find a photo. I'll find a photo because I'm at you're at 14. I'm at 16. So and I've decided consciously that I will never be sub 10. I don't want to be sub 10, but my goal is 12. So I'm at 16 right now.
oh, I'm 10 and a half.
Oh, excuse me.
My goal is 7.
All right, all right.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was
you know,
8. I was eight
fe-
percent for my last show, so that's why
fellow
7 is.
fellow gym addict and gym fanatic Eric Burks on the line right there. You know, he's giving you a little love, but that's pretty lean, brother. That's, okay, I like it. I like it.
Here, this was I sent you a link. This was December 1st. This is what 8% looks like on me.
Let me see here. Uh, I'm gonna do it. Let's see here. Well, first of all, folks, this is the man's sight right here, and this is what I'm. These are the pictures that I get every day, right? I mean, this guy's walking around with no shirts on.
That's my
You
normal
know,
feed. Now it's
yeah,
gone a little less.
he's flexing with medals all over him and
Yeah,
everything.
that
But
was the show. There you go.
this guy right here is it's just impressive. All right, let's see what we got here.
This was the photo shoot before my show. So that's what 8% looks like on me.
Dude, you look you're a bad man right there. You've always been a eccentric with the hairstyles too.
Yeah. Well,
I
that's my show here too, right?
we can have a whole nother show about that, right? Just the fashion, the hairstyles, the suits. We can go for hours about that. But yeah,
Yeah.
you got it going right there, but you're gonna do all right. You're gonna do all right. I love it. I
So
love it.
yeah, I'm a character, I guess they say.
You're you're multidimensional, and that's great. I mean really that's commendable because you've got, I guess, in summary, right? I mean, you've got so many things going on. You've seen so many things. You've done so many things, right? From a business and from a personal perspective. And you take a lot of that experience and you impart that on folks around you through Foundercraft and through some of the other things that you do. But you focus on a work-life balance. My old employer had that kind of as a mantra. You don't just work all day, every single day, worrying about a dollar. You focus on, and let me know if I'm putting words in your mouth, but you focus on what's important to you, society, and what makes you happy, and what kind of change that you can make, right? Again, I worked for Apple for 10 years, so you're trying to make that dent in the universe, right? And
Yeah. I
so
will say this, James, and I'm guilty of doing this myself, is we all have a lot, like even us, we still invest in our fitness, but for me, a lot of it becomes like part of the job too, right? And I think like the reminder you have to give yourself constantly is that it's a privilege and you should be grateful for it, right? Like to have it, to have the ability to do it, and to be able to have the time and the luxury to invest in yourself is something that you should value. And the day gets slotted up into like this time, this time, this time, this time, and we usually don't. It's easy to not stop and take a breath and appreciate that you have that time to do it, right?
yeah,
And that as much as it may feel like work, that you're getting something out of it, right? Like, and remember that you are getting something out of it, because I think that ultimately is the fuel for it to keep going, right?
yeah,
Because as you've been an entrepreneur as well. All pursuits in life require fuel and energy, right? And
right.
that fuel tank is only refueled by being able to acknowledge the progress you've made, to look forward to the thing that's to come, right? And to be grateful for the things that you have already, right? Like, and so, without that kind of perspective on things, it's easy to deplete your energy or interest or desire to do anything almost.
Yeah, that's pretty heavy there. I got to think about that a little bit. That's very introspective as well, right? Because if you don't appreciate where you are today, how are you going to appreciate where you're trying to go? I think from a summary perspective, I think I'll put
Yeah.
it that way. Dude, you're a special guy, right? I really, and I want this recorded. I want this known. You are a good dude, right?
I appreciate it.
Congratulations on everything, on the successes, on the failures, on the journey, right? You've been there, you've been back, and what you're doing is you're sharing, right? You're helping those coming behind you avoid some pitfalls, and you're helping them to you're guiding them in the right direction. So for that, we fellow business people, we fellow entrepreneurs, we fellow folks that are in the business world, say thank you for that, for caring about where you are and where you came from, kind of thing. I thank you for being a good father. Definitely thank you for being a good husband as well. I will never get to 10% or 10.5 or something like that. So I would have a four-letter word or something to say to you about that right now, but I'm gonna
I,
be good. I'm gonna be
I,
good when I get to
it's
my
coming.
12%.
It's coming. You know how to fix it. You just don't want to fix it. That let's be clear.
Uh,
And that's an okay choice. All right.
I have different goals. My goal is 12%, and so I'm at 186 today. My goal is 195, 12%.
Which is huge. I mean, like if you think about it, that's such a big difference. I mean, like that is way harder than my goal. Let's put it that way. All right, like because I can lose fat and muscle quickly and get down to a number. Right?
Yeah, yeah. I've got till October. I got till my what am I now? 50? 51? I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, October 28th, my next birthday. That's my next goal. When I don't see when you get over 50, dude, you start these things you start to
Yeah.
get.
It definitely gets harder and harder every year, man. So
I love it.
that's okay, Eric. 22% is lots of room for improvement.
Yeah. Well, again, he's been locked down, COVID too, right?
Yeah.
He's an ice cream guy though. So this
Oh,
guy,
by the way,
he
15 is like under 20 ain't bad. Like, and I recommend most people be like, around 20 is pretty okay.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
I mean that's true, right? Reality and what you can achieve and maintain without going through cuts and bulks and food preps and all that. I mean,
Yeah.
just being comfortable, being healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, mid twenties is fine. We've just got some deviated goals than what I think everyone, the majority of
Totally.
society
I don't
has.
recommend any of the crap I do to anyone.
I would love to see. So next photo you post on Instagram, please post like your refrigerator, your food prep, or the
I I
either
think
either
it's
the
easy because it's the same food every day. Like, protein French toast, pound of ground turkey.
yes.
That's my daily food.
Oh, hold on. The stack that you go through every day, your protein, your freeze, whatever the case may be,
Yeah. Well,
it's a whole different world.
I'm eating 1,600 calories a day. So
Wow.
yeah, and my RMR is like 1,700, 1,750. So like I'm not
Okay.
like off by a huge amount. Like I got
Yeah.
tested for like what my RMR was, and
Yeah.
because I'm light, right? Like I'm a small guy,
Yeah.
in general. So like I just don't have the same kind of dietary. This is what I found out, by the way. Everyone's like, oh, 2,000 calories. I'm like, if I eat 2,000 calories, I basically gain weight, which is great when you want to bulk, right?
Yeah.
Like, but
Yeah.
like it really sucks. Like last year, there were days when I was eating 1,100 calories a day. And that was not nice.
I don't even want to know or talk about, because I bet you were just grouchy
You
and
learn you learn a lot about yourself when you're eating 1,100 calories a day. Uh, but I will say, for everyone who thinks this is not, I don't recommend what I'm doing per se, but the discipline, like every little bit of the discipline you can introduce into your life, I think is good,
yeah.
right? And by the way, I'll share my four tips. I'm not a coach, but I do give people advice if they ask me, right? And I share with them that there's like the 4 R's that I recommend for how to lose weight if you're trying to lose weight. It's very, very simple, right? Step 1 is refrain. Like I'm a big fan of intermittent fasting. So I think if you manage your eating window, even at all, you will see an improvement most likely, assuming you can do it. The second R is record. Just start keeping track of what you do. Ideally use an app, but if you don't want to use an app, write it down. Just at least mentally take note. The awareness is what creates consciousness around it. The third R is to replace. So find the crappy things you eat and just replace them with better versions. You like potato chips? Great. Eat baked potato chips. Don't eat fried ones, right? Like you like this kind of meat, maybe switch it up for turkey or something else once or twice a week or whatever it may be. And then the fourth one is reduce, which is actually then changing your calorie intake. And so you have a lot of wiggle room before you actually change the number of calories you eat, just by changing those other things, and they will all have a net return for you in just managing your weight, if that's your goal, right? Like, and I don't force people. When I give people this advice, I'm like, don't do the second one until you can do the first one, right? Like, so if you can't get the first one done,
Oh, that's a good
it's
point.
not
Yeah,
useful
yeah,
to do the second one, right?
yeah. That's a
So
good point.
if you can't start to control when you eat, you will not be able to muster the control to do any of this other stuff, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
So like getting a 12-12, like fasting, that's fine. Totally fine. Like everyone can do 12-12, right? Like
yeah,
just make it so
yeah,
easy for yourself. And then you start
yeah.
to switch it up, right? Like, and then everyone who's done fasting who said, I never thought I could do it. Now they can do 24-hour fast because it's, you build up your way to it, right? And those four things, just simple things, nothing complicated. You make your way there, right? And then you find what makes you happy, and you will lose weight. I guarantee you. Because ultimately, losing weight is all about, it's just math. It's how many calories you put in your body and how many you
Done.
burn.
Right. It's counting macros is all math.
Yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is why I brought this man on camera to just have him talk. I don't even need to talk. I just set him up with really three subjects, and we said we were going to go for 30 minutes. We've gone for an hour, and I'm just going to say I hope that this was beneficial. I hope this was valuable for me. When I went off screen, you guys, I was taking notes. Right, I'm writing stuff down like the minimal
Minimum
viable
viable
person.
person,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, look. I'm writing stuff down so I can take this back, right? And the 4 hours, I've got those memorized now. You see, my friend Eric is wanting to see this video as well. So for that, I'm saying again, thank you, brother. I mean,
Yeah.
for the time, thank you for the information, thank you for you. Tell the folks how they can get in contact with you if they either want to talk business, fitness, or they just want to learn about
Sure,
the daily
absolutely.
life of a Colorado dad.
You obviously, I'm on Instagram gregariously, but if you want fitness, it's fit by default, fit x default. But feel free to email me, gregarious@foundercraft.com. You can put it up on the screen too if you like. But that's my email address. Feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to chat with anybody.
Yeah,
you know, I don't really care about the topic. Like I said, I view success as trying to be as well rounded as possible, and so. I have obviously we all have experience in multiple parts. I think where I'm good is leveraging my experience to make sure like if there's anything useful that I can make applicable to you, I will.
yeah, and I will put all of those links and this email kind of in the show notes as well because I think I told you I'm gonna pull the video down, throw that up on YouTube, pull the audio down, put that on podcast, so this content will continue to live and I think be a benefit and a value to folks who take the time out of their day to listen to it. So with that, Greg, thank you, brother. Get back to your family. Enjoy the rest of your night. I will see you virtually in the gym tomorrow morning. I'm not going to be there 3 o'clock. my gym, my gyms are still on special COVID hours, so I'll be there at 7 a.m. I will be there at 7
I'm
a.m.
waiting for them to
And
go back to normal hours so I can like be alone in the gym again like usual.
I love it, man. Yeah, and what you just sent me in our back channel, I will make sure that folks see
Yeah,
that as
that was
as
the
well.
original origin post for the minimum viable person.
Definitely. Okay. I will, you know what? I will actually turn that into, we're all content creators, right? I'll turn that into a post on infotainment news, right? That's what we do, right? Thank you, brother. Appreciate you,
Awesome.
man. Have a
Thank you,
great
Jay.
night. Thank you again.
It's been a
You're a great
pleasure.
man. I will talk to you soon. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I'm James Hicks, as you know, on infotainmentnews.net or at James Hicks, Twitter, Instagram, all those good places. I will see you next time. Be safe. Be good.